Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Productivity Life, and today we're going to be covering the 80-20 principle by Richard Koch. The main principle, the idea. So imagine it as a percentage, 80%, 20%. So, for example, to give a brief overview, I think that it would be better off explaining through examples so that you sort of pick up the pattern. So, 20% of criminals are responsible for 80% of the total value of the crimes committed. You understand how that's disproportionate? Another example, the Pareto distribution, with wealth, how it skyrockets up at the end. So you've got 20% of the world's population own 80% of the wealth, and it may be even more, 90%. Isn't exactly fixed, but the main principle of it is your productive life. In your productive life, you can 20% of your efforts can produce 80% of results, and it's more so the idea of imbalance. It's quite a simple concept. So 20% of your efforts and the things that you put in, and 20% of the resources produce 80% of the results. Think about that way, but think about it indirectly too. This is what you need to do. So, for example, friends, build close alliances with people. That's a good idea. So, there's this huge trend on YouTube where there's an emphasis on being the alpha male and patting your chest and making as many friends as possible and getting all the girls. That isn't how you think. You need to be selective, and that's my principle and that's my philosophy for this channel. Selectivity. Making the most of your time, but also appreciating that there's an abundance of it. Okay? So, making the most of your time. Okay? Being selective. And that comes with people too. Your peer group. I don't like the analogy that they're the mean of your income. The 5 closest people around you. But guess what? You need to build a close alliance. You can't let life just happen to you. You need to pick your friends wisely. And I'll tell you why. It's because if you pick people with the same interests as you, with the same values, and you just resonate with them, they'll help you achieve a lot more. Because you'll be constantly exercising in your head. Constantly. Whatever your passion is. You can find people like that, you can find like-minded people. That's the idea. 20% of the people around you, or 20%, like your best friends, for example, your best influencers, they're the ones that are responsible for 80% of the outcome. 80% of your total happiness of people talk to that day have probably resulted from them. That's the general idea of 80-20 principle. I'm going to break it down simply. Basically, you're being selective. You're being selective about what you do. You're being selective about who you're with. It's very eccentric and it's a very unique lifestyle, and you have to have a lot of balls to do that. You have to have a lot of balls. You need to be the weirdo sometimes. Doing stuff, for example, look at me. I look like an idiot. I'm talking in front of a bloody camera. But be selective. That's the main idea of the 80-20 principle. You choose your friends wisely. You choose what you do wisely. Elon Musk's wife once said, I got this from him. It's just the idea that you have a niche, or a niche, however you pronounce it, and you specialise in that one tiny thing. And it's something that you're good at, and it's something that you're passionate about. Passion isn't necessarily 100% everything, but it's something that spurs you on to progress more. You need passion. Well, you need at least a little bit of passion in what you're doing. But yeah, that'll tend to be the 20% that'll produce the 80% of the results. It's as simple as that. That's all you need. So the next time that in your job, or the next time that you're thinking, or even if you're in school or college, when your teacher asked you in the past or has asked you, do all these questions, regardless of whether you find them easy or hard, do all these questions. You know, you'll get the grade if you do all these questions. Don't think like that. A does not lead to B, does not lead to C. Certain things make your mind tick. Certain things make it interesting for you. And certain things even make it easy to learn. And that's what you need to realise. You can't find it, you're in the completely wrong topic or subject. And that's the problem. Don't let life happen to you. Be selective. Be selective of the tasks that you decide to do. What is going to produce the most results? Do things. Don't overthink it. Just do them. Set aside a time for yourself. Set a start and a finish. See whether you can complete it. Sometimes that's a bit of a trial and error. But select what you're going to do. Think, okay, I'm going to go about this a slightly different way. How about, rather than cold calling people, rather than doing all these questions, every single one, be selective, choose the ones that you find the hardest. It might be hard, you might have trouble with success, but in honesty, your biggest satisfactions with the stuff that you're passionate about, with the stuff that you overcome. Don't give up. That's a simple piece of advice from the 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch. It's the idea that you're selective, who you pick and who you're around, and what you pick and what's around you. Tailor your environment around you, don't adapt yourself to the world. Do what you need to do. Yeah, pick a small niche where you can become an expert at it and go for it. This stuff is gold dust. I paid £20 for this book and I'm giving you the thinking on a platter. Be and do the 20%. You know, keep things simple. Keep things, use your innovation. Don't follow convention. Don't follow convention. Be unconventional. Find new ways to do things. That's what all entrepreneurs do. Be different. Dare to be different. Why not you? Why not you? Why can't you achieve something? Why can't you? There can be a variety of reasons, but I'm going to tell you now, 80-20 principle. 20% of those reasons are 80% of the fact that you can't achieve something. So find those critical few things. Another example, 20% of your customers could be responsible for 80% of your organisation's profit. 20% of your products or your services in your business could be responsible for 80% of it. But don't throw everything else out the window. The idea is think efficiently, keep life simple. You know, I'm not sure whether this was to do with Leonardo da Vinci, but there's a famous sort of thing where simplicity is beautiful, but complexity is ugly. Be simple. Strive towards things. Do them. Make sure you do them. And another thing. Be unconventional. Be unique. Be you. This is to anyone who's bullied out there. This is to anyone who's feeling down or feeling judged. Be you. Obviously you can make some improvements. Obviously if you come in and you reek and you smell, and that's an incompetence problem. You need to be competent. But if there's nothing wrong with you and it's just simply you being yourself, do things that are unconventional. These entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, like Richard Branson, like Bill Gates, you know, they all follow their own footsteps. Don't follow someone else's. This is my first piece of advice. Don't obsess over your success. Just do it. You know, don't obviously, don't overdo it, don't overshoot, don't try, and know when to let go. But use 20% of your efforts in everyday life. Identify the people that are gonna make you achieve the most, and you enjoy the most time with, who you can resonate with. Identify the things that you enjoy the most. Identify the things that make you tick.